Let's bring them in. We are live, Lancaster Event Center, Home and Garden Show. I've been here all weekend. We'll be here till about 3 today, and then we will bounce over for our Super Bowl show. But we have a special online edition for this one, the deep end. We brought in the ladies on a Sunday. They're giving us time. Raise it, Brady, Minzy, Kathy. Ladies, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I want to thank the folks from Cullivan Lincoln for allowing us to piggyback what they're doing. Chance to bring some Husker athletes out and let folks get to meet them and for them to be seen and heard. It's pretty cool to do this thing. It's been a great year. I'm glad you guys made time because this is important to see some of your fans and folks that care about what you do. What do you do on a weekday before one of your bigger meets? What's this weekend been for you guys? What do you know?
The divers left on Friday around 1, and we went on a training trip to Mizzou. So we had a practice right when we got to Mizzou at like 6, from 6 to 8, and then stayed the night in the hotel, practice from 8 to 10, and then back on the road. And we got back in town at like 3:30, 4 yesterday.
Tell the story about why these excursions are necessary for diving.
Well, we have to go to Iowa or Mizzou because they're the closest pools with a full tower. So in diving, there are 3 events. There's 1 meter, 3 meter, and tower. And tower consists of either a 5 meter, a 7 meter, a 10 meter. You can pick whatever tower you go off of. But our pool only has a 5 meter. So if, like me, I have 3 dives on 7, and I will be learning 4 dives on 10 meter at some point in my collegiate career. But we don't have the facilities for me to learn that except for in the summer where we have an outdoor pool. So if I want to learn those dives in the middle of season, we're going to have to take a weekend excursion to go learn those dives.
I have a feeling I shouldn't ask you for the last one.
Okay.
After the workout, you're on the road.
Yeah.
What do you guys do?
Sleeping, homework. We're tensing up because we just worked out and then we're crammed in the back of the van.
How many people made the trip?
There are only 3 divers, so it's just the 3 of us and our coach.
Well, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad. There used to be 6 of us in a coach, so then we cram into a minivan and there'd be 3 of us in the back seat, and I'm the youngest, so I'd always be in the back seat with my knees up because there's not enough space.
I was gonna say, why are they picking a small van? They know this is on purpose, right?
They do know this is on purpose.
So why are they doing that to you?
I have no idea.
Okay, well,
sometimes the divers get the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
Occasionally, we try to reduce that, but sometimes just pile in a van, divers.
they can't, it's got to be pretty easy for somebody in Lincoln to provide a van that's big enough for you not to be crouched and cramped.
I mean, it's only 4.5, 5 hours, so it's not. It's not like it's a drive home to Texas.
You just said it's only 4.5 hours. Do they understand your performance based, right? Like,
yes, okay, but then we also drive 8 hours to Illinois for the meet. So 4.5 to 5 hours is nothing.
We're used to much more.
I'm an old baseball player. We would drive from Virginia to Florida to play a game.
How long is that drive?
18 hours.
18 hours. We don't do that.
18 hours, and then they finally figured out later in my career that we should play games like if we stop along the way instead of making a straight drive and do playing games all the way back. But sometimes we assume that the grown-ups know what they're doing, and that's not always the case. That's not always the case.
Well, I mean, we kind of do that too. We have one weekend this season where we have like a double duel. So this year we left early in the morning and then we competed that night at Minnesota, and then we drove to Iowa State and we competed that next day. And then we drove back.
What happens for you on a weekend like this? Like, are you refining? Are you recovering? Are you recharging? What are you doing?
Yeah, so usually we have practice Saturday morning. Usually a pretty hard practice. It's get up and go, doing some pretty intense sets, trying to go kind of race pace. This Saturday we're on taper, so we're resting a little bit. Practice to get a little easier, get nicer. So we did a lot of mile pace this Saturday morning, and then this is actually an interesting weekend for me because I'm involved in my church here on campus, the Catholic Church, the Newman Center, and they actually had a huge national conference this weekend. that was in Lincoln, or at least a location of it was in Lincoln. So I was actually there all weekend, just came from it, and it was really cool. Lots of speakers, a really big crowd of UNL students. So
I was wondering how many Husker student athletes are part of that program.
there were a decent amount. I want to say at the conference this weekend, there were probably about 10, but there's probably more kind of involved in the church, involved in Bible studies around campus. So I actually lead one that Raven comes to sometimes. So
How often do those things take place? I mean,
Right before our segment, it's Monday nights at 7.
Weekly
So
Bible study.
so you're coming in late. This is
Oh yeah,
this is strong.
warms me up, and then we're here. We're ready to go. We do some talking, do some more talking.
How much of that carries over to what you do on a daily basis? Like from an athlete standpoint, you're put in for work. How much does faith get you through? Like how much does it carry?
It's everything. For me, I wasn't really into it my first 2 years of college, and kind of came around the last 2 years, and it's given me good perspective on everything. Because I think before I was very focused on, okay, like swimming is everything. Like I have to be good at this. I have to do well. And now I'm like, oh, I have this bigger reason to swim, and it's actually made it better in a sense, because you're not hyper focusing
you're not
on
putting all of the pressure on one performance.
exactly. You're like, I have a bigger purpose, and that's to serve God, that's to love Him. So
How do teammates respond to that?
I think pretty well, I would say.
I think this team compared to like my freshman year is a lot closer than it has been. This team compared to my freshman year has been a lot better than it was. So I feel like there's this level of respect between all of us that we didn't necessarily have my freshman year. That we can go do our own things, and we can do what we like, and like we won't get judged for it, but B, we can also come together at the end of the day and be one unit.
That has to be the part of the connection. Talk about the team's closer. That's one of the things required, right? Like to fill in the time that you spend together where you're not performing, where you're not competing.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's required. Like there are some teams that just genuinely don't like each other. Like I was on one of my visits, and I was on my visit, and they were talking about their other teammates too. Like, so it's not necessarily you have to be close, but if you want to be, I feel like it goes hand in hand. If you want to be good, you have to. You don't necessarily have to be close with everybody, but you have to have that level of respect for each other.
It seems more apparent now that the big part of being a collegiate student athlete is time management.
Yes.
Right. Like that's important. How do you go through? Like, what's the process for priority in your week? There are a lot of things that should be a priority, could be a priority. How do you make that list? How do you make that decision?
Well, there are things you have to do, right? You have to go to class. Well, at least you should. You have to go to, I wouldn't say have to. It's very, very strongly recommended.
Yeah.
Have to go to class. You have to go to practice. Those are the non-negotiables. And practice takes up 20 hours a week. We're in at least 12 credit hours, maybe even more. So you have to make sure those two things, you're on top of those two things. Then I'd say next, you have to make sure you have a decent sleep schedule. So because you have to recover for these practices, because it's not enough to just go there. You have to go there and do well.
If you're crazy busy, sleep is not going to be sacrifice.
Yeah.
For you, what's the number? Like, I've got to have this number.
Oh, mine's probably bad, honestly. Some nights it's like 6 because I have to wake up at 5:10 a.m. Go to bed till 10:30 p.m.
You see, I need my beauty sleep.
Yeah, Reagan's.
If I don't get my sleep, I can't function. So I'm probably a little higher, probably like 7 or 8 hours.
Yeah. I say sleep is important, and then I get like 5 to 6 hours, but.
Right, I mean, because get up at 5:30 or whatever time that is. Those sleep hours are important because it's going to show up in the work.
Oh yeah.
Then there's the homework, there's this actual studying rather than the work itself.
Yep.
How do you put that in?
There's a couple hours in between our second practice and then like dinner, and then between dinner and bedtime. So that's when we usually get our stuff done. But like if we have like half an hour here and there, I'll try to knock out an assignment or something, because this past week I had 10 or 11 assignments due on Friday night alone. And so I didn't want to, I'm usually that person that procrastinates and waits till the last minute. That's just how it ends up being. But like, if you have 11 assignments, there's no way you're getting it all done on Friday. There's no way. So I try to space it out as much as I possibly could. But like, obviously you have those nights where you're like mid freak out, like I'm not going to finish this, or I haven't studied enough. And
yeah, I think it's being efficient. You can't spend forever on your homework or everything. So honestly, I think I find myself studying a lot less than other students, and you still have to get good grades. It's a goal on our team to have a very high GPA. So I think you become very efficient and you know what works for you.
Do you know your team GPA?
I should.
Well, because
3.47.
So
that sounds right. Yeah.
So what I understand about athletic program, about what level it is the awareness drives the effectiveness.
Yes.
And if it's a constant part of it, everybody knows what the GPA is, the work has to be done. People understand it. Okay, I can't do what students are.
This year was actually low for us. We probably got like a 3.47. Everyone is usually around like 3.6, 3.5. So we as a team pride ourselves on.
Have they provided that necessary elevation? Because for my team, we understood that 3.5 was important, because 3.5 turns you're not only a student athlete, but you're a scholar athlete.
Yeah.
And having that additional leverage is necessary. So is that ever a part of the conversation? You know what? 3.5 is the standard. Anything below that, we're accepting less of what we should do.
Well, for at least for the freshmen, they have to get 8 hours of study hall a week. So.
Oh, they have weapons now. This is spectacular. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? They have given the pipeline guys weapons. How is that going to go well? They have given the linemen big sticks, and I don't understand. Like, this is spectacular.
Knocking stuff down.
See, that's the deal.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
That's spectacular. That is just spectacular. But then you understand why I want you guys here.
Yeah.
To walk around and kind of feel this community in this sense.
Yeah.
Right? Because one, most Husker fans don't have access to the student athletes. I want to change that. I want you guys to have access to the people who support you and who want to get to know you. I mean, a lot of the things, look, one, they'll cheer for the end. They'll cheer for the name, but they love the actual people. And that part of it is what we're trying to accomplish, especially in events like this. We're live at the Lancaster Event Center. I think, for me, when I listen, the more I know you two, is where I get excited about the future of the program, because you guys are going to not only set the standard, but reset the standard.
Yeah.
And I think that's impressive, right? So the words are put together far too often in the wrong context. All-American. What does that mean to you?
I guess technically I am one, so there's that.
There's no technical to it. You are.
Well, okay.
Like you are.
Well, it was. I don't like to say that because it was technically during COVID. So I qualified for NCAA's my sophomore year because a lot of the teams scratched out. So I was like, cool, I qualified for NCAA's, everything gets canceled, right? 2 months later, I wake up to an Instagram post and they're like, oh, CSCAA All-Americans, and my face is on there. So it was a different move than normal. Usually it's top 8 is first team All-American, top 16 is second team. But since there's no NCAA championships, everyone who qualified was an All-American that year. So
I still wouldn't say technical.
I like to say technical.
You were still an All-American.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. But
Like you accomplished a thing that only 16 people in the entire country could.
this year it was more. It was about 38 in each event.
Okay, so
38 in the nation.
38 in the nation puts you in such an elite category, in an elite space, and then you have to honor the work, because if you were just swimming, I'm like, that's impressive enough. But you're carrying additional responsibilities and tasks in effect, and you're leading this program. Like whether you like it or not, you're one of the standard bearers. That's impressive. That's like beyond. I understand the humble, but man, that's all Americans legit.
Thank you. It was very surprising because it's not how I thought I would realize that. And it was also my sophomore year. I was like, oh, I have 2 years after that. So I think the goal after that became, okay, like what's the next step? What's the next goal for me? Like my junior year, I went in, I was like, okay, I made NCAAs, that's crazy, but I never competed at it. So that whole year I was focused on, I want to actually compete and I want to do well at NCAAs. And I think this year it's becoming, the goal is, oh, let me become an actual All-American in my book, which I know you guys just repeated, but you know, it gives me another standard to hope for, like either that top 16, top 8.
But that's the right way to approach it. Is whatever you accomplish is what's next.
Yeah.
Like my college coach will always say, Eric, whatever you accomplish, take one more step. Like, and he would always constantly ask, okay, so now what's the next step? We take the next step. And it's just like what you just said, everything he was talking about. You've accomplished All-American status. You're not satisfied with the way that it appears to you. And now you're attacking, you're almost stalking it. Like that's the only way it happens. Like that's amazing. If that's the standard for this program, the program took it out.
Well, last year at Big Ten, we had our first Big Ten champ since we've been in Big Ten. And we had 2. And Abby won 2 boards. And then on 1 meter, we had a girl, we had Abby win, and then we also had Sarah place 3rd. And then Autumn won for 200. And so, like, we're kind of like the underdogs in a sense where nobody sees us coming because we don't necessarily have the greatest facilities and we don't necessarily have the best reputation. But then we go and do that and people are like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, where did they come from?
I know you weren't with us at Big Tens last year because that was at a different location, but you know, coaches were coming up to our coaches.
Were coming up to us too.
Oh yeah, coaches were like Nebraska, like that's crazy, like. And it was the performances in the pool and it was the cheering in the stands.
The environment.
Yeah.
We had one of the Big Ten judges last year was one of the old Nebraska coaches. And he came up to all of us. There were 5 of us last year. And he came up to all of us and he goes, this is the best group of girls I've seen in a long time. And it's not necessarily like I had a bad Big Ten last year. And it's not necessarily like, except you. This is the best collective group that I've seen. And you can tell that you all work for it. And you can tell that you all want it. And that's what makes a difference.
I think going forward, what I'll pay attention to is how everybody else responds to some of what you do. Like, are they willing to go with you?
Yeah.
Like, because there will be folks that are like, cool with the gear and some of the work, but elevating the standard is never comfortable. It's never comfortable. So how do you get past the friction that is, hey, we can do better, we should do better, we gotta do better?
You can't be comfortable and just expect things to be. So, I don't know, I pride myself in my hard work. And swimming and diving, yes, is an individual sport at the end of the day. But when you score individually, you also score for the team. So it's bigger than just yourself. And it's not necessarily wanting to let like your goals down, but also the teammates' goals down with it. So I that's what I think of when I go to like bigger than like, this is bigger than me. Even though it is an individual sport.
Just setting the standard again for the program while you're here and after you're here. What do you want this program to do?
I want this program to be competitive. You know, I think we've done a good job in the Big Ten, but I think there's always room to go up. And, you know, with such a good athletic program as Nebraska has, with all of the money, all the revenue, I don't see any reason why we can't be at the top of the Big Ten. So I just hope this program continues to go up, but continues to do it the right way. Because I think what I've seen at going to conference championships and just looking around at teams, a lot of teams look like they're not having any fun, which is terrible. Yeah, so I want us to get up there and have the success that, you know, Michigan, Indiana, Ohio State has, but I want it to be the right way. I want it to be the team coming together and coming towards a common goal.
I mean, one of our key goals this year is to get a lot of fun. And it's not necessarily, that's not even a performance aspect. I want to drown out in million sound. And Molly, my roommate, she told me today that her parents bought pom-poms, and then that our other teammate parents bought like those clapper things. So like it's not just, and we went to the wrestling match and we got capes. So like it's not necessarily like the loudest sounding. It's like you're gonna see a sea of red. Like it's
And being legitimate and being authentic.
yeah.
Because their programs are allowed things but actually carry.
You can definitely share it. You can definitely tell them. Like you'll see us on the side of the pool, and we're like screaming in the faces, like, no! And it's just absolutely insane. And I still haven't been in a Big Ten environment like that. Like I haven't been to a Big Ten game. So I'm just excited to see that environment because last year when it was just 3 or 4 of us in the stands for finals watching Abby win or Sarah get third, that was already insane in itself. But the environment that the swimmers bring is on a whole nother level too because there's 24 of them in us. So
I think if you guys have the opportunity to reset this thing, it'll be impressive when it happens. But the cool part now is watching the plan for it.
part of building the legacy.
Yeah, like watching you guys change the world while you're in it. Ladies, it's going to be, so let the folks know what's up next for you guys.
Big Ten Conference Championships next week. We leave on Tuesday.
Leave on Tuesday.
Competition starts Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I forgot Thursday.
Should I feel bad about having you guys do a show Monday night the night before you leave? Okay.
We're driving, so we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to be sure I wasn't extending this thing.
Wow.
All right, young ladies, go enjoy this event.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. We'll post this and share with everybody. Greatly appreciate it. Tell them when they can catch you on the station.
You can catch us Monday nights at 9 p.m. The Deep End on 93.7 Ticket.
Mark, take us a break. Get us out of here. Thank you.
I bet you it's a good game.
Don't close it out.
Yeah, thank you.